Really?
We'll just put it down.
Oh, just time?
Yes, I'll just. Or just
Here. Or I can, yeah, just
That's easier.
go old school.
Okay, are we ready? Do we?
We're
Okay,
we're
great.
live.
Okay, so we had 1 week off. We're picking back up. Last time we had finished, we'd begun Parak Hay. We're using the same sheets as last time. So if you have that in front of you, I guess let's just review a little bit what we've been discussing. That again, the Jewish people have come back to Eretz Yisrael originally because Koresh let them go back. They had laid the foundation of the Beis HaMikdash. They erected an altar. They brought sacrifices, but then the people around them, they don't really want the Jewish people to go to the temple. They don't want them to, again, increase their authority and control over the land. So we read these letters, which were in Aramaic, that, they're complaining to the authorities and saying the Jewish people are building the structure to rebel, and throw off the Persian control and so forth. And basically that slows them down. And because of that, because of the pressure from the people around, everything sort of comes to a standstill. Okay. Then we began Parak Hay. In Parak Hay, so it's on page 2, V'hit Nabi Chagai Nevaya Zechariah Bar Ido. So the Nevi'im Chagai and Zechariah, and we read some passages from Chagai and Zechariah. They begin to tell the Jewish people it's time. It's now about 18 years later. It's in the second year of Darius' rule, 18 years from when they originally come back from Koresh's original edict.
Which was 52 years
after the destruction of the temple. Okay. And now Parak Vav is now 70 years, the end of the 70, this count of the 7-year cycle. It's time, you have to start building, and don't worry, even though it's not going to be perfect, just start building a Beis HaMikdash, and even though you're a little scared and intimidated, you just have to believe and trust and do it. And they start building, Okay. So that's sort of where we were up to. So let's now begin the next pasuk, pasuk bet in Parak Hay. We're still in Aramaic. Okay, we're gonna get out of the Aramaic by the end of this evening. Okay, so we just have to hold on a little bit longer. Okay, we're gonna get some more letters in this parak. Beidayin kamu Zerubbabel bar Shaltiel Yeshua bar Yotzadak. Again, Beidayin means like at that time. So at that time again, our two leaders Zerubbabel and Yeshua the Kohen Gadol, they get up. V'sharav lemivnei Beit Elokah di Yerushalayim, to start building, like with note, the Beis HaMikdash. V'imhon v'yaya di Elokah misadin lahom, with the prophets who were helping them, encouraging them, and getting the project going. Okay. Bei Zimna, at that time, Asa in Aramaic, and perhaps if you come across in the Gemara, means come. Asa alehem tatnai pachat avar nahara. So a person named Tatnai, who was the officer, the governor of the region beyond the river, some sort of Persian officer. Ushtar Boznai, it's another Persian officer. Uchinevathon, and their associates, or however their colleagues, it translates. V'chein amrin lahon, and they said to them, to the Jewish people, suddenly they're building on top of the Temple Mount. Man sam lachon te'ein, who authorized you? Baita dina libnei, that this house should be built. The ushrana dina, so again this, and it's how do they translate here? Accoutrements, its furnishings, lishachala, should be finished. Who said you're allowed to do this? A dayan kinema amarna lahom. This is a little difficult in this pasuk, but again, they said to them, or they said to us, Man inun shmahas guvraya didina binyana banayin. Let me read the slowly. It's a good line. Man inun shmahas. What are the names? Like Shemot. Guvraya of these people. Who's doing this? I want names. Who's in charge of this project? Okay. So it seems the Jewish people were really scared. Imagine they didn't want to listen to the prophets. The prophets are saying you should start building. Then they start building. Immediately start building. These Persian officers, are coming down on them. So the book of Ezra describes looking back. Ve'ein ella kahon, but the eye of Hashem, havat al savei Yehudaye, was upon the elders. Savei is like what's pasuk in the Torah? Bifnei seva takum, right? Seva means like an elder. So, but the eye of Hashem was upon the elders of Israel, of Yehuda. Velo vatilu himo, and they did not stop the work, like mevatel, ad tama l'Daryavesh yahach, until they would get word from Daryavesh. Meaning, we're going to see they send word to Daryavesh, complaining and saying, "Can the Jews do this?" But the people, to some degree, were surprised that they just didn't stop them immediately. Ve'edayin yesivun nishtavana aldana, and until, I think we mentioned another time that in Aramaic tuf switches with shin, so yesivun is like yashivun, until it would be returned to them a response on this matter. Meaning, even though they were upset, they didn't stop them, and they were going to wait to hear what Daryavesh, who is now the Persian king, what he would say.
Like what's the distance, like how long would a letter take back and forth?
So I think earlier in Ezra it said that it took them a few months to walk, but that was like with a whole big like entourage with children and animals, and so I'm sure it was shorter than that.
A fast messenger.
Right. So I don't know. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. A week or 2 weeks, maybe. But yeah, I'm not sure. But I think that seems reasonable.
Well, in Israel, it takes 2 weeks. That was the amount of time. That was the time from Rosh Chodesh to Yom Tov. But it must have taken 2 weeks, right?
To where though?
To the new moon, to announce the moon.
To announce the new moon from Yerushalayim.
Yeah.
Place within Israel. So this is a longer distance.
Well, they would, and they couldn't even get that to it. They might have gone beyond Israel also.
No, it's just beyond Israel.
Right. Yeah.
So it's a longer distance. So it might have taken a month.
Maybe. Yeah.
I was just saying that in Esther doesn't talk about the various kinds of riders. That
Yeah,
spread
exactly.
over.
Yeah. We're going to see, it's actually very interesting. We're going to see from the books of Ezra, Nehemiah, and Daniel, you'll better understand just sort of the times of Esther, and also some of we'll see, I think we might have, encountered this already, some of the midrashim, meaning that are reading things into Esther, where, it could be that a tradition or whatever it was, but you see those same realities described in Ezra and Nehemiah. Like for them, we just saw like in Ezra talks about explicitly, and they were returning back the kalim and the vessels from the base of Mikdash. So like when Chazal say that Achashverosh had kalim at the party, like it's very reasonable because
So one of this opinion we're following now, they already had started building the base.
You're right.
So
Correct.
So the only question is whether they had all the
Right. Which one? Yeah. So we're gonna see though, but in terms of the messengers and also like the royal chronicles and all those things we're gonna see more examples of that here. So yeah. Okay, so we're up to now pasuk vav. So parshagan igarta di shalach. So the text of the letter that was sent. Tatnai pachad avar nahara. Again, this Tatnai, the governor of beyond the river. Ushtar boznai uchenevate, and again, and all of the officers. Afar sechaya, that's some sort of Persian officer, like that was their title. Di bavar nahara, that was on the other side of the river. Al Daryavesh malka, that they sent to Daryavesh the king. Pitkamash lachu alohi, again, they sent a letter regarding this. V'chidina ksiv begavei leDaryavesh, and this is what was written in the letter to the king, to Daryavesh malka, or to Daryavesh the king, shlama kola, peace and everything, or okay. Yediyah lehevei lemalka, it should be known to the king. Di azalna liyehud midinta, we went to the area of Yehuda, lebeit elaka rabbah, to again their great house of their God. V'hu mit b'nei even galal, and they are rebuilding it with great, like rolling stones, meaning large stones that couldn't be lifted. That would be rolled there.
They roll.
Yeah.
So that's how they got the stones there.
I guess yeah. Or maybe it's Okay, yeah, big, nice stones. The point, the mitzam bechutlaya, and wood is being paneled into the walls, meaning it's a really nice, impressive structure. The avidata dach as parna mit avda, and all this work is happening very quickly. Umatzlach beyedhom, and it's being successful in their hands. It's happening. Edayin she'elna l'savaya ilech, and we asked the elders, the people in charge, Kenema amarna lahon, saying the following: Man sam lachon te'em, again, who gave to you, authorization, baita dina lemivnaya, that the building should be rebuilt, v'usharna dina l'shachla, and again, everything inside should be finished up. Va'af shemahaton she'elna lahon, lahoda utach, and also their names we asked, lahoda tutach, to let you know, to report it. Di nichtuv shum gevarya diva rashehon, which names were written down and who are in charge. Okay. Uchenema pitkama hativuna lememar, and this is what they responded to us. Hativuna, again, is like heshivun. I mean, again, so this is the letter saying this is what the Jews responded to us. The Jews said, quote, Anachna himo avdoi di elaka shmaya va'ara, we serve the God of heaven and earth. Uvanayin baita di hava b'nei nikadmat dina, and we are building the building that had already been built like mikedem previously, shenein sagiyin, of many years ago. Umela, so we're not doing anything new with this. There was always a Jewish temple here. Umelech li Yisrael Rav Banahi v'shachalei, and it was a great Jewish king that had built it and decorated it.
Umelech li Yisrael instead of Umalka di Yisrael, so it suddenly switches to Hebrew in the.
That's actually a very good question. I don't know why that's very perceptive.
Maybe they're just quoting what the Jews said. But that's what the Jews are saying.
Yeah, but why? But in the same sentence, it's in the same sentence.
So
That's
paraphrasing. So they use the term Hebrew, so they just paraphrase.
I'm not sure. I don't know. This is a very good question. I'm not sure. Okay, that's a very good question. I thought maybe this purish might have noted that, but he doesn't. Okay, let's keep going. Yud bet. Lahain, however, Mindi Hargizu Avahatana. That's like what does it say in Halach Manya? What does it say? Isn't there for Avahatana, right? I mean, our father, right? So that same way. Okay. So, however, our fathers Hargizu angered Le'ela Kashmaya, the God of heaven, and Yahav Himo Biad Nebuchadnezzar Melech Bavel Kaza, and therefore they were given into the hand of Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Bavel, the Chaldean. Ubaita Dina Satre, and he destroyed the building. The Amma Hagle LeBavel, and the nation was exiled to Babylonia. Bram, however, this is a Jew's response. Bishnat Chada LeKoresh Malka di Bavel, in the first year of the reign of Koresh, Cyrus. Koresh Malka, Koresh the king, Sam Te'ain Beit Elaka Dina Lemibnei. He did authorize us to build this building, so we have permission. We stopped for a long time, whatever it was, but there never was officially another edict to say it's forbidden. Va'af manaya di beit elakad, even the vessels of the temple, di dahava v'chaspa, again dava dines and zayin switch Aramaic to Hebrew, and again the vessels of silver and gold, di Nebuchadnezzar hanpeik min hechlei di Yerushalayim, that Nebuchadnezzar had taken out of the temple in Yerushalayim, the Hevel Himo Lehechlei di Bavel, and took it into his temple in Bavel. Han Peik Himo Koresh Malka, Cyrus the king took out Min Hechlei from temple di Bavel that was in Bavel. The Yehivu L'Sheish Batzar Shmei, and he gave it to the Sheish Batzar di Pachasamei, who he appointed as like the governor of this new Jewish community that was returning to Israel. Again, that's what happened in Perek Aleph. The Amarle, and Koresh said to him, to Sheshbatzar, El, that means like Ela. El manaya, these vessels, sa, pick them up, take them. Ezo aches himo behechledi Yerushalayim, go take them and place them back in the temple in Yerushalayim. Ubeit alaka yitbnei al atrei, and rebuild the temple in the same location. Eidayin Sheshbatzar deich asa, and so the Sheshbatzar came. Yahav Ushaya debate alaka Yerushalayim, and he placed down the foundation. Umin Edayan va'ad Ka'an, and from then until now, mitbaneim, we've been building v'lo shalim, and we just haven't finished it. So they're saying we're not even starting anything new. First of all, we had official permission from Koresh, and we've just been, slowly doing it since then. Okay, that's the end quote of the Jews' response. And so now, this is Tat 9, the Persian officers saying to Daryavesh, Hein amal katav, let it be upon the good king, or if it's good, Yitbakar, bebeit ginzaya di malka, let him check. Yitbakar, so like bikar cholam, we normally translate bikar as visiting, but literally the root really means more of to like check, like you check in on someone. So Yitbakar, let him check. Bebeit ginzaya, in the, how do they translate that? In the archives. Di Malka of the king, Tama di Bavel, there in Bavel, Hain iti di min Koresh Malka simtain, if there really is this edict. Sounds like they didn't know that the Jews are claiming that 18 years earlier, there was this royal edict, but they're not sure. The Mivnei Beit Elaka Deich Yerushalayim, to in fact rebuild the temple.
Why'd they have to wait then to start rebuilding it if they had this edict card the whole time?
Yes, I don't, I don't know, you're right. I guess it earlier seemed like they couldn't, or it seemed they were, even if there wasn't officially an edict canceling it. But well, there was actually right. No, what happened?
He asked them to stop building it, but why didn't they say why are you asking us to stop? We haven't officially edict.
Right. So I guess the before Daryavesh, the previous kings, the previous rulers weren't letting him do it. I mean, even if I'm trying to think, wasn't there in Perek Dalet?
Yes. But in the Perek Dalet,
There was the
stop.
Yeah.
There was the stoppage letter, and there's also I saw something that there were those who said that part of the reason for Achashverosh's party at the beginning of the Megillat Esther was to celebrate that he had quashed the building of the Beit HaMikdash.
Right. That's correct. Yeah, Chazal say that. Yeah. So right. So I guess the question is, how true is it exactly what the Jews were saying here? Meaning, right? It seems like I guess there were these like temporary stop orders, but maybe those weren't sort of like officially written into like sort of the royal, it wasn't like officially written into the royal exactly. So they had to stop. And you're right. So the Jews are sort of like they're not really they're conveniently ignoring that when they're trying to defend.
Why didn't they reply when this letter came back saying stop the order? Why would they say, well, hang on a second, we have a previous order?
So I'm saying, I guess, right, those temporary stop orders, apparently that would override, like what Korah said. But now, I guess, Daryavesh, it's a new king. And so, it's like Lamashal, right? So there are, the laws in America that like Congress would have to repeal. But the executive actions, or whatever they're called, every new president can. So the like pauses were more like executive action. So like a new king can come and sort of like reverse that at least more easily. Yeah, maybe again, ask historians about how it worked.
The flaw is the historical memory of the court there, because they had forgotten the initial edict, it seems, or ignored it.
Who, the Persians had forgotten, or the Jews?
In Perek 4,
yeah,
who says that stop.
Right.
The king sent the following message to recommend the commissioner.
Yes, stop.
So it says he what did he base his? I mean, it was,
because they were telling them the Jews are building it to rebuild. Yeah, exactly.
But the thing is that.
So even though technically Koresh, the previous
it had been authorized, so he didn't.
But now the next king was saying, "Oh, we got to stop this." Whatever Koresh said, fine, we let them move back. But
so it's really to the credit of what happens at the end of number 5 that they were willing to, objectively look and see if there had been, what the official doctrine
Yeah,
was.
we're gonna say exactly. I mean, they're gonna do that. Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. So the credit of Daryavish. The pasuk itself is gonna say that all these Persian kings, they've got a pretty big merit, like that they're it was under their watch and with their help the base of English was rebuilt. Yep. Okay. So again, let's read the last phrase. Urut malka al dina yishlach lana. So let the king let us know what the king feels about this. What is the king's wishes about the Jews rebuilding the temple?
I mean, it's the tenor is completely different from what it was before. So it's not just that they're saying they're bringing it to the attention of the king again. It's like they seem to have provided a faithful description
You're right.
of the Jews'
And
position.
and they're saying, listen, this is what's happening, and let us know. I mean, if this is fine with you, that's fine with us. But we just, it's more like, they
Like
don't want to.
building inspectors want to just make sure, like,
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like they don't want to get in trouble. We're like, we want to make sure that the Jews are building temples here. We don't want you to come back to us later and say, you didn't tell me what.
Take a very soft
Correct,
approach.
yeah.
I mean, today, the Arabs, they would be so kind to us. I don't think so.
Right.
Is this because, do you think that their tone changes because there's a Navi there now telling the Jews, God wants you to do this?
Yeah, it's hard to
Do
know.
you think that frightens them just enough to like, okay, we can't just go in there and,
I'm not just hard to know, or it could be the opposite. It could be the Nevi'im were the ones, like Chagai and Zachariah, realized, things have changed a little bit. And, they hadn't been pushing the Jews until now. But now they realized, first of all, there's a relatively, this is the second year of Daryavish's rule in Persia. So it's a relatively new king. Seems like Daryavish maybe they thought he had a different attitude than the previous Persian king. And maybe, like you said, it's new. The Persian officers are there and seem different. So,
The problem is that the question that the building inspectors ask is never answered by the Jews, because the answer is the Nevi'im are the ones who are telling us to do this.
you're right. They are.
And they just say, we are the servants of God, and they don't either disclose the names, or they don't say that there are sort of captains of the Jews who are telling them that God wants them. Because didn't we see that they were saying, don't fear and build a temple?
Absolutely right.
So-
Right. They did not say, well, our God told us this is our land and we have the right to do this.
Yeah.
Because God says so, and we don't care what you say. You're right. They didn't.
But they didn't even mention that, the concept of what Laura was saying about Nevuah, and do they even do the Persians operate in the context of that concept? I mean, do they understand what it is?
You're right. So it sounds like really I don't know. It sounds like they didn't. You're right. They didn't think that would be a good argument. They more want to say, listen, we're not doing anything illegal. Koresh, the Persian king said we're allowed to do this, and we're just continuing that.
But that was the impetus. I mean, we saw earlier a couple weeks.
Yeah, it's not
ago.
false what they're saying. It's just you're right.
Right,
They
but
are.
that's what was the urging.
But why should we think that they say it different? I mean, after all, Paro, said, who is this God that I should pay any attention to him? Why should I?
Yeah,
why should I pay any attention? Why should?
Well,
why
no,
should they
because
think
the
any
answer
different?
is during the they understood whatever his name is in the Haggadah, Ashveris, understood that the 70 years of prophecy, that they understood that there was Nevuah, and they understood God was like the king of the
Well, yeah, I'm not sure. Or
And
they
they
understood there were
were-
many. I'm not sure if they necessarily believed he was like the one and only.
I mean, but they understood that the prophecies of the Jews came true, and that's why he made the feast, because after 70 years, he just miscalculated.
Yeah.
But he understood that there was a truth to what the Jews were saying.
Yeah, that's true.
And the fellows who are writing this letter, again, this is a faithful transcription of it. They're referring to the house of the great God.
Yeah.
Right.
Almost in how they describe it, it's not like, it's the Jews' God.
Right.
They seem to be recognizing that
There was something special.
And the
about,
first letter, the one where you found the cylinder, right? You remember you said contextually that's how the king, the head of Persia addressed all the
Right.
provinces, but he does say that this is, had favor on me and inspired me to write this letter.
Yeah.
So
Okay, excellent. Okay, let's try to do Perek Vav. Okay. Here we go. Perek Vav, Pasuk Aleph. So again, they've sent this report back to Daryavish. Beidayan Daryavish Malka Sam Ta'im. So Daryavesh issued an edict. Okay. Uvakaru b'veit sifraya to check the again the houses of all the books. Di ginzaya hachatin tama b'vavel that were again archived, whatever, put away in Bavel. So I guess even Daryavesh himself didn't wasn't like such well-known knowledge that Koresh had. And if you think about it, again, Koresh, like we saw that first class, he was there were probably tons of these kinds of edicts. This little community can go back to their town and their place, and there were probably edicts for all these, and no one remembered exactly. It seems like no one remembered exactly what Koresh had said, exactly what the Jews were entitled to do in Israel. So they have to go check. They have to go look it up. The Hishtakach be'achmeta bevirta dimadai medinta megillah chada, and it was found in Achmeta. It's a city in England. They say Ekbatana, and this is they have a picture here of this is like from the top, but this is like we have this place. It's apparently in the Iranian city of Hamadan or something like that. Okay, but if you Google Ekbatana, you'll find this ancient Persian city. So they found it in the in that city, in that capital kind of city, a scroll. And this is what's written in the scroll. So again, it reminds you of Esther, right? Like the king is like, read for me, the royal scrolls, and this is all the same time. So what did it say?
But those hadn't been archived yet. They were still like the current,
right,
issue.
Right, exactly. Exactly. So what does it say? Bishnat Chada LeKoresh Malka, in the first year of the reign of Koresh the king, Koresh Malka Sam Ta'im Beit Elakab Yushalayim. He made an edict that regarding the house of God in Yerushalayim, Baita Yitbanei, that the house should be rebuilt, the building should be built. Atar di davchin divchin, and they should offer sacrifices. Again, Dalet and Zayin switch, so it's like Zebach. V'ushoi misovlin, and it should be built up high. Rume amin shitin, 60 amot high. I'm not sure if we know exactly what that means. Pitaye amin shitin, 60 amos wide. Okay. Nidbachin di even galal, and it should have like a foundation or some row of, again, beautiful rolled stones. Rolling stone. Right. Right. Yeah. Tlata. It's actually, again, tough and shin, which is like shalosh. So like 3 rows of that. V'nidbach di achadat, and then 1 row of fine wood. V'nifkata min beit malkat tityahev, and they should even be able to take out money from, the treasuries of the king. V'achmane beit elaka di dava v'chaspa. Again, the gold and silver vessels. Di Nebuchadnezzar hanpeik min hechlei Yerushalayim behevel Bavel. That again Nebuchadnezzar took from Yerushalayim to Bavel. Yaha tivun should be returned. V'hach lehechlei b'di Yerushalayim. It should be placed in the temple in Yerushalayim. Latre, to its proper place. V'tachet b'veit elaka, placed again in the house of God. So basically, Daryavesh said, yeah, we looked it up and we checked. There it is. It's it's on the law books.
And not only that, we're paying for it.
Right. Yeah.
The appropriations committee
Right.
was in a generous mood.
Very good. Okay. So at that time, this is Daryavesh's letter being returned. Ka'an, and therefore, Tatnai Pachat Avar Nahara, you Tatnai, the governor of the area, Shtar Boznai, Nivaton, again, Afar Sechaye, again, all of your officers, people of our Nara on the other side of the river, Rachi Kin Havo Min Tama. Stay away, don't bother them, let them do what they want. Again, if we can learn a lemma again, Tama, again, Taf and Shin switch, so it's like Sham. The Taf is like a Shin, so it's Shama. Okay.
What river is this that they're on the other side of?
I don't know, I guess it means Euphrates, yeah, I mean, from Persia.
That's back in Persia.
Meaning the governors of Israel and Jordan, that whole area.
I bet it's the Ardennes. I don't know.
I bet it's the Euphrates.
I would think it's by the Euphrates, but I'm not sure.
The hinterland.
Let's quickly look what this is the kind of thing that this
These
sefer will
people are
say.
close enough to know that it's going on.
Yeah,
The rivers in Chicago are really serious rivers. It's not, Jordan River isn't that serious a river.
No.
All right, I don't know. I don't see. Okay, so I would have assumed it's the Euphrates also, but I'm not sure. So again, Daryavish continues. Shavuku lavidas beis alakadach. Let them do whatever they want. Pachad Yehudaye, the governors of the Jews, Save Yehudaye, their elders, Beit Alakadech, Yivnon, Alatre. Let them rebuild it. Okay, they can do it. Uminisim to aim, and therefore I issue an edict. Lima di ta'avdun, im save Yehudei ileich, lemivnei Beit Alakadech. Let them, the Jews are allowed to rebuild their temple. Uminichsei malka, and he's reaffirming the original law. And from the money of the king, di midat avar naharaya, I guess from the taxes, the money is from that area, from beyond the river. Asparna nifkata tave mit yahava luguvraya ileich di la levatala. It should be given to them. They should be given support from the royal taxes. And la levatala, don't stop them. Don't be mevatel them. Uma chashchan uvnei torei, and without stopping, they should be given ubnei torin. They should be given bulls, because it's like a shore. V'dichrin, it's like rams. V'imrin, sheep. La'alavan, to be offered. La'elaka, shmaya, to the God of heaven. Chintin, what does that mean? Like a wheat. Yeah. Malach, salt, chamar, wine, mishach, oil. Kememar, kanayadi, b'shlem, whatever the Kohanim say they need. La'avei mit yahev lahon, should be given to them. Yom v'yom dilo shalu, every day without fail. Di lahevon mehakrivin nichochin lelakashmeo, so that they should be able to offer the fire offerings to their God. Umatfalin lechaye malka uvanohi, and that they should pray for the life of the king and his sons. Meaning they should pray, they should be offering sacrifices and praying for the Persian kings as well.
Return on investment.
Exactly. Yeah, it's an investment.
That's like what Paro said when he sent the Jews out. He said, "And pray for me too."
Yeah, I don't remember the power of it. Yeah.
Yeah, because he thought that they were just going out to have to
For the festival. Yeah.
Festival.
Yeah.
We realized they weren't coming back.
Okay. Umini sim to aim, and I offer another edict. Daryavish says, "Di kol anash, di hashnei pitgamadina." Anyone who tries to go against this decree, yitnesach min baitei, a piece of wood should be taken from this house, uskif yitmecheloi, and he should be hanged on it. Here they have even a more severe translation, but okay. Either way, it's not good. Ubaitei nivalu yitaved aldanan, the house should be bulldozed as well.
Is that a common threat for people who disobey the king's laws? Or
I
is
don't
that
know.
just
It's a king, It's definitely only a king is really gonna say
Don't mess with the king.
But it is
Move
it's
that
like
day.
you mess with them building their house.
I
We're
hear
gonna
that. That's
use-
very.
we're gonna use your house to,
I hear that.
to
That's
punish
pretty good.
He's pretty
Okay, here we go. We're almost there. Okay. Ve'elaka di shachin shamei, and the God who lives there, Tama there, Yimagar kol melech va'am, he should destroy any king or any people. Di yishlach yedei, who sends out his hand, lahashnaya lachabala beit elaka deich di b'shlem, who tries to destroy this house. I mean, right? If anyone tries to destroy his house, the God of the house should also, punish them. Ana Daryavesh Samat Tehem. I am Daryavesh. I have issued this decree. Asparna Yitaved. It should be done immediately. Carried out with dispatch. Okay, end quote. So that's the letter that was sent back to Yehuda. Edayin Tatnai Pachad Avar Nahara Shtar Boznai Uchavenasan. So the Persian officers, when they got it, Lekabel Dishalach Daryavesh Malka Kinema Asaparna Avadu. Like you said, these are good people, and so that's what they did. They said, okay, that's what the king said. So that's what we're doing. And so the Jews kept building, and they were successful. B'nevuas Chagai Neviah Zechariah bar Ido with the prophets. Uvano v'shachlilu min ta'im elaka Yisrael, and they were building according to the edict of the God of Israel. Umi ta'im Koresh v'Daryavesh v'Ar Tachshasta Melech Paras, and according to the edict of the Persian kings Koresh, Daryavesh, and Artaxshasta. Before we get to, again, this was one of those psukim that we discussed. There's the difficulties and ambiguities of Artaxshasta. So it's also just interesting, and meaning just the way everything, and the Jews are building according to the edict of God and the edict of the Persian kings. So, there's this like dichotomy. On one hand, they know everything is from Hashem, but at the same time, they are really still under the rule of the Persians, and they could only do it because the Persian kings let them. Yeah. Again, briefly, this Artaxshasta, some would say the more simple pshat is this is against someone who's going to be later, who has not yet lived. And it's just, he's included here because he was also one of the good Persian kings that helped us, even though we haven't really gotten up to him yet. And the Gemara says, no, it's again, it could be a way to refer to the same Koresh or Daryavesh because it's just sort of a Persian title. Okay, let's try to get to the end of the parak. The Sheitziya Baitadina Ad Yom Tlas LeYerach Adar. They finished on the third day of Adar. Dihi Shnat Sheish LeMalchus Daryavesh Malka, in the 6th year of Daryavesh's reign. So again, they had begun in the 2nd year of Daryavesh's reign. So it took them 4 years to build it. Va'avadu b'nei Yisrael Kanaya v'Levaye, and the Kohanim and Leviim Ushar b'nei Galuta Chanukat Beit Alakadana b'Chedva. Everyone, they had a Chanukah Savais, a great celebration to inaugurate the house, b'Chedva, with great joy. The Hakrivu l'Chanukas Beit Alakadana, and they offered as sacrifices to inaugurate the house. Torin Ma'ah, 100 bulls. Dichrin Matayin, 200 rams. Imrin Arba Ma'ah, 400 sheep. Which sounds like a lot. I think in Malachim, when Shlomo did, it's like nothing compared to that, but it's still a lot. Utzfire izin lechata'a al kol Yisrael trei asar leminyan shiftei Yisrael. This is interesting. And they offered 12 goats as sin offerings for all of Israel, for the 12 tribes, according to the 12 tribes of Israel. Now, we're going to see later, they do this again, and the Gemara comments on those psukim, but presumably it's probably the same for this, that on some level, these were, the way the Gemara says it is, they were offering 12 sin offerings for the 12 tribes for their sins. Specifically says the Avodah Zarah, the idolatry, that was the reason that they were guilty that the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed in the first place. Meaning, they felt that they're rebuilding the Beis Hamikdash, so apparently they're somehow making amends. And so they were also offering sacrifices, basically recognizing the sins of why the Beis Hamikdash had been destroyed, and I guess, praying for forgiveness and atonement. The Gemara says it doesn't really fit the regular rules of when you would bring a carbon for committing Avodah Zarah, but it was some sort of, special decree maybe from the prophets, to be done in that, that very special time.
Was it clear that was their sign? We know now, like the convention is to say that the first temple was destroyed because of we transgressed certain sins, in the second temple because of sin and but back then, 70 years later, did they understand that the historical context of and the religious kind of imperative of why the temple? Did they really know that?
Right. So the Gemara says this Gemara that's commenting on these psukim says it's Avodah Zarah. You're right. It could be it was just sin offerings more generally.
It's clear bloodshed.
Yeah. I mean, right. It's clear the Nevi'im. Avodah Zarah was definitely a really big deal. Meaning, what Yirmiyahu and the Nevi'im of the first Beis Hamikdash are complaining about. That's definitely, there were other sins also.
Right, so but it was mostly Avodah Zarah. I mean, that was practice.
I think that's probably the one sin that you find the Nevi'im most upset about. But again, the Gemara you're talking about says it was the three big. There was also murder and there was adultery. Yeah. Okay. Just another interesting point in these psukim. So they offered 12 for the 12 tribes. So that is also interesting because, again, the 10 tribes have been exiled like 150 years before the first temple was destroyed. And this group that's returning is really primarily just from Yehuda Binyamin, and whatever the Kohanim Leviim. So it seems like they still, like the way they thought of,
They weren't Jews, they were Israelites.
Yeah, and they still sort of thought of the 12 tribes, like that was still part of their consciousness, like, yeah, maybe they did. Again, we're not talking about a much longer period.
I remember, my mind is blank. Within the last couple of weeks, I had read an article someplace with speculation that a lot of the 10 tribes that had been in the north
yeah,
sort of drifted back south and rejoined Yehuda and became part of Yehuda.
It could
and
be.
Really descendants of. It wasn't an article that was talking about
this Hebrew or English article.
need for doing some DNA testing.
Uh-huh.
But
Yeah, maybe some did come back, and so like they felt we came back. Maybe the other 10 will also come back. Yeah.
I think they came at one point DNA testing, and they figured out that there were some Africans who were descendants of Kohanim.
Oh yeah. I don't know.
They weren't even practicing Jews,
Wow. I don't know. Okay, let's see if we can finish up. The Hakimu, we're in Pasuk Yudchet now. The Hakimu Kanaya befluk tahon, v'levaye b'machle katon. So, and they started getting everything up and running in like the most official way. The Kohanim were again divided back up into the families and divisions and Levium, and they had the cycles up and going. Alavidat elokadi Yerushalayim, again, the way everything's supposed to be done. Kechtav Sfar Moshe, as everything is written in the book of Moshe and the Torah. Now again, they finished the building on the 3rd of Adar. Vayasu b'nei Hagolah et Pesach bar basar lechodesh harishon. So the first main holiday that's certainly to offer sacrifices is Pesach. Not much after that, and so they make a big, carbon Pesach on the 14th. Ki hitaharu hakohanim v'haleviim ke'echad kulam tahor. Everyone had purified themselves, in a technical sense. Vayishchatu haPesach l'chol b'nei hagolah v'la'achayhem hakohanim b'lahem, and they slaughtered the carbon Pesach on the 14th for everyone. Vayachlu b'nei Yisrael hashavim hagolah, and everyone who would return from the exile, they all ate. V'chol anivdal mitumat goyeh harth aleihem, there's a typo there, and everyone who was separated from the tomb of the non-Jewish lands. Again, that probably means on many levels. That just means returning to the land of Israel, or separating from idolatry, technically purifying themselves. Lidrosh laHashem Elokei Yisrael, again, to seek out God. Vayasu Chag Matzos Shivas Yamim B'Simcha, and they then did the 7 days of Pesach with great joy. Ki Simcha Hashem, Hashem made them very happy. The Heisev Leiv Melech Ashur Aleihem, that he had turned the heart of the king of Ashur upon them. L'chazek Yedehem B'Mlachas Beis Elokim Elokei Yisrael, to strengthen their hands, to help them build the Beis HaMikdash. There is one small point. Melech Ashur, it's a little strange. I mean, this was the Persian king. Why is he calling him the Assyrian king? So to some degree, all these names were interchanged. Persia, Bavel, Assyria, they were all to some degree synonyms. Again, though, I don't know, maybe there is some connection. I don't know, again, because we talked about they're talking about the 12 tribes and thinking about the other 10 tribes that have been exiled into Assyria. Maybe, I don't know, they're they think this is the beginning of everyone returning. There's some allusion to Assyria here. I'm not sure. But on a simple level, that's just another name for Persia. William, what else about these psukim?
They're back in Hebrew.
Back in Hebrew. Okay, Baruch Hashem, we're out, okay? So, so on one hand, the simple understanding is that we want, apparently the Navi, the editor of Ezra wanted to include the letters in sort of their official transcripts, which were in Aramaic. And then even the psukim that are in between the letters, we just keep all in Aramaic, so we're not going back and forth. And now we're out of the letters, we're back into the rest of the narrative, so it's back into Hebrew. But I don't know, it struck me when I was again sort of reviewing it. It is very nice that they finally built the Beis HaMikdash, and then Pasuk Yotet is the first in Hebrew. Vayasu b'nei Hagolah et Pesach. It's like we're sort of emerging out of the Aramaic, the language of the diaspora into Hebrew as they finally have been successful and rebuilt the Beis Hamikdash.
Yeah, but
So
did they really speak Hebrew at that point? I don't think so.
did they? They probably did that. No,
Most likely not.
no. But Hebrew was still sort of the official language of the Torah and studying perhaps, but and Nevi'im and so forth. But you're right. The common language spoken probably was not Hebrew.
Have you ever davened in a shul in England?
No, I've not. No.
That when they on Shabbos morning when they say the prayer for the government,
Yeah.
they in English they say like the Queen's full name, right? So that if the royal family happened to come upon their service, they would know that they were being honored. So it made me think like maybe it's in Aramaic for the benefit of. Like this is our documentation.
To some degree, to thank the Persian kings.
I didn't think of that.
Yeah,
I was thinking
what were
more
you
like if we need evidence to say to the local populations that we have permission to do this, you can read it in your own language. I think your percentage is a little nicer. But yeah.
It's like because whenever they come, we say, look how much we appreciate.
So the 6th year of King Darius, was that 70 years after?
No, so the 70 years will be from his second year, meaning when he
gave
them
permission. That letter.
Yeah.
Where he says, "Go ahead, and anyone will be hung who gets in the way."
Yeah.
That's the 70 years.
Yeah. Once they have official permission, and it seemed at that point, they weren't worried anymore. They had
that's
full.
Considered the rebuilding. The date it was actually 4 years before it was completed.
Yeah.
But that date is the 516, right?
I guess so. I have to check that exact year, but according to the 70-year count, certainly the way Chazal counted, right? It's to that. It's when they got permission. And again, even though they had already been offering sacrifices at least on and off before then, and the building wasn't fully built until 4 years later. You're right, but the 70 years
And do we know how long the hiatus was? Actually, there was a chart I saw between when they started to rebuild it, they were stopped, and then they were able to complete the process. There was a hiatus.
Well, I'm not sure if we know exactly. I'm not sure. I mean, the whole thing was again 18 years
18 years
from when they first went back with Koresh.
Yeah.
Until they had permission from Darius. Year 2 of Darius is 18 years, and then I guess another 4 years till it's
right. And
fully
did they
built
start
will be 22
trying
years.
to build it right away when they came back?
The Psukim said they laid the foundation.
So there's like maybe a 16-year break or something, 15 years.
Yeah.
It's interesting, 22 years, one year for each letter of the alphabet.
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay. All right. Good evening, everyone.
Just like,
Any more questions?
Darius asked them to pray for the monarchy.
Yeah.
To get sacrifices for the monarchy. The fact of the matter is, we did not only do it for them, we did it for all the nations of the world.
Yeah. So we'll see next time, God willing. We'll learn again next week. So I meant to say also, this sort of concludes sort of the first half of the book of Ezra. Right, the first half is basically about them coming back and right, exactly, pre-Ezra, and they've actually been. So now there's gonna be, the next parak is going to be after a jump in time, and that will be when actually Ezra comes. So that's sort of like the second half of the book of Ezra is about the lifetime of Ezra. So that's what we'll look forward to next time. All right.